So how should leaders approach burnout? I think first of all, let's understand, so what is burnout? And so burnout is a constellation of kind of three different things. And the first one is emotional exhaustion. And I think we've all in our lives had these moments where we're just exhausted, like we're not feeling joy anymore. We're just kind of tapped out for the day, for the week. And the things that used to make us happy just kind of fall numb on us. And so emotional exhaustion, and then cynicism. And so what's cynicism? There was a cartoon I used to watch, and there was this character named Glum. And Glum and the group of people would like go on these challenges, and they'd solve these they'd solve these situations. And Glum was always like, "We'll never make it." And Glum's friends were always like, "Be positive, Glum." And Glum was like, "I'm positive. We'll never make it." And so I think of cynicism as being like that. Like you're at work, you're in your life, and you're seeing situations just from this really negative perspective. It's never going to work out. Things aren't going to happen. Maybe you're turning sarcastic, so that's cynicism. So you start to combine emotional exhaustion with cynicism, and these are signs that you may be burned out. And then the third thing is, as you can imagine perhaps, if you're emotionally exhausted and if you're cynical, how effective are you? And so your effectiveness goes down. And so this is what burnout is. And we're noting that burnout is rampant within healthcare. And it's actually a big deal outside of healthcare. Is burnout new? And I don't think burnout is new, but I think that we've developed like the language and the understanding of what it is, and now we can measure for it. And so I don't think like the new generation is weaker than the old or anything. I think we've just now developed this ability to be able to sense burnout. And now we need to be understanding how to then respond to burnout. And I think what tends to happen is like an oversimplification. Like someone is burned out. We think about kind of grit and resilience. Well, Winters is burned out because he's just not tough enough. And so we can think about it as like a weakness of an individual. That's not the right lens. We can think about it from the perspective of, there's things that you need to be doing. You need to be, exercising and eating healthy, and you need to be getting some sleep and those sorts of things. And again, these things are very important. But I don't know about you, but like I could like work out and I can eat well and sleep. And then if I still go to work the next day and things are not like not going well, I could still be burned out. And so it's not just about us and the way that we're reacting. There's actually a bigger thing here. And it's important for leaders to understand that. And so I think of it like three levels. And so there's the organizational level. And organizationally, first of all, we're going to recognize that if the people that we're working with, the people that we're employing are burned out, if they're emotionally exhausted, they're cynical, and their effectiveness is decreasing, that's going to hurt the organization. It's going to hurt our ability to take care of our customer, in healthcare to take care of our patients. And so this is something that we need to do something about. And so just as we're measuring the cost of the care or of our goods, and just as we're measuring the satisfaction of our customers, or in healthcare our patients, we need to be measuring the well-being or burnout levels of those that we're working with. And so organizationally, we need to be measuring this. And then as an organization, we need to own this. We need to understand that this is not an individual problem. This is actually a systemic problem. And so this is a responsibility of the board. This is a responsibility of the senior leaders. And this is a responsibility of everyone who's in a leadership position. And from my point of view, whether you have a formal leadership role or not, we are all leaders. And so it's really all of our responsibility to move forward in a way that tries to increase our own well-being and decrease burnout. So the top level is organization. The second level is then kind of interpersonally, how we're interacting with each other. And a common thing to look at there is like, how are we running meetings? Are you going to meetings and feeling like you're being heard? Are you feeling like your voice is important? Are you feeling that the leaders are representing the values for which you're actually working there? Do you feel like you can get things done? How are you getting together? And so oftentimes what happens in meetings is we're talking about these sorts of things. What can happen is you have leaders who are not aware of the importance of engaging their colleagues in decision making. And they kind of go in there knowing what they want to have happen, knowing the decision that they want to make. They bring some topic up, and then they just kind of jump to what they're going to do. And then people who are sitting in the meeting feel like, well, why was I even here? And so we can form meetings, we can create meetings and kind of structure meetings in a way that have people interacting, sharing their different perspectives. We know of the importance of diversity. We can have a very diverse room full of people, but still have them be silent. And so how are we including all these different perspectives? This comes together in whether we're having a sense of well-being or whether we're feeling burnt out. The third layer, I think, is now as we're getting at the personal layer. And so on the individual layer, yes, we need to be exercising, sleeping well. We need to be taking care of ourselves. Yes. On the other hand, it's also like how we're making sense of this really complex world. And sometimes what I see, as I look at online, as I see social media, is a tendency for individuals to blame the leader, a tendency for individuals to blame the situation. And there is a problem with that, which is if you get into a place like that and you are burned out, you've kind of trapped yourself as a victim. So given that, now what? What are you going to do? And so it's important for people to understand that oftentimes what can be trapping them is the way they themselves are making sense of the world. The sense that I have to be doing this job in this way, otherwise I'm not going to be happy. I have to live here in this town and work at this place, otherwise things aren't going to work out. As we start to maybe question some of these things as we held as truths, and open up maybe other possibilities that can help us weave ourselves out of burnout. I think our best leaders develop a language to understand burnout. And what's been helpful for me is an acronym so I'm a physician, and as a medical student you learn these acronyms. And there's these two different forms of well-being. So one is hedonic well-being, and we think about hedonism, right? So I can go and have a drink tonight and party and great time, but then feel really bad the next morning. Not long-standing well-being. So as we're thinking about well-being and burnout, I like to think of something called psychological well-being, also called eudaimonic well-being. This is a good dictionary term, eudaimonic well-being. And so what is eudaimonic well-being? Eudaimonic well-being is made up of 6 things, and so the mnemonic is pagers. And so P is purpose. Do you feel like you're aligned with the purpose of your organization, the values, kind of the mission of those that are around you? If you're feeling like things aren't in alignment and people are acting out of alignment, they're not embodying the culture and the values that you went there for, this may start to ding your sense of well-being, may help you go into burnout. And so that was P. A is autonomy. And this is this sense that you're being heard, the sense that you feel free to speak your mind, and that the solution is going to incorporate. It may not go in the way that you thought should have gone as you started out, but you're still being heard and you have a voice. And then G is growth, so personal growth. Do we feel like we're in a situation here at work where, I'm learning new things, and as a result of what I'm doing on my job, I am a better person today. I am more skilled. I'm more able to deal with the environment than I was yesterday. And this sense of personal growth is very important. If we stifle a sense of growth, then you can see how you might start to feel like you're burned out. The E in Pagers is environmental mastery. And so do we feel like we have the things in our environment, the resources that we need to perform our job, to get things done? And if we don't have those resources, do we have ways of flexing or working around these limitations of our resources? When we don't have needed resources, we can start to feel burned out, and it can impact our well-being. The R is our relations, positive relations with colleagues. If you don't have positive relations with colleagues, it kind of stinks. You're going to work and you're working with a bunch of people negative who wants to work with a bunch of glums. That's not so good. And then finally, and this is kind of the S in Pagers, is self-acceptance. And I've found that leaders at all levels, the most senior leaders on down, this can be a difficult one. It's our ability to understand that we're human, we're fallible. I'm going to make a mistake, and I'm going to do something that I'm going to, gosh, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I hadn't approached it in this way. But it's our ability then to take those moments and to be accepting of ourselves in those moments and to be able to move forward. And I think we can all get in this space where we're really our own worst boss. I remember Seth Godin wrote this blog post about the world's worst CEO. And the point of it was that the world's worst CEO is you. It's the way you talk to yourself. It's the voice that you use with yourself. You would not let anyone else talk to you that way. but you need to be forgiving and accepting of who you are and kind of your own humanness. And so as a leader, our best leaders can think about, like, now you have this language, pagers. As I'm meeting with a colleague, I can think about how am I making sure that they have a sense of autonomy? How am I making sure that they feel like they're aligned with values? Are they achieving personal growth? Are they having good interactions with others? And as I'm meeting with them now, I maybe have some levers, some things that I can do on the organizational level, on the interpersonal level as we're having meetings, and then also on the individual level to help them out. And so I think as we move forward, we can't be in a situation where we're burning out our employees. Like, the people who are working with us can't be the minions that are exhausted as we're moving forward. We need to be supporting each other. We need to find a way to achieve well-being together. Even in the most difficult environments, I think we can do that as we pay attention to these components of well-being.